Hello, and welcome to my second video on how to feed your dog a species appropriate diet. And that means raw food. First video we talked about the myths of feeding your dog. We talked about your dog being a carnivore, and we talked about your dog's jaw, and why kibble is just not good for him. But if you insist and you keep feeding your dog kibble, this is what you can expect. Oops, wrong sheet. Disease and toxic burdens on your dog system. Okay? The veterinary communities are admitting that they're seeing a highly increased volume of cancer in pets, diabetes, skin problems, liver and kidney problems, periodontal disease, and that's just to name a few. Let's talk about this one though. You can see that one. Kidney, liver, that catches up with you in the long run and it can go hidden. But if you open your dog's mouth, especially if you've been feeding your dog kibble, he's probably got tartar, he's probably got nasty breath, and that's going to lead to tooth decay, and that's going to lead to plaque. And plaque travels. I don't know all the specifics, but it's very dangerous. And vets are making millions of dollars on scraping and cleaning your dog's teeth. It's expensive and it's a pain in the ass on your dog. I got 5 dogs and none of them have ever had their teeth scaled. They don't have plaque built up from kibble. Their breath is not toxic, it doesn't smell. They can lick you and you don't have to take a shower, which is one of the benefits of not feeding kibble. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Let's say you believe me and you think your dog's a carnivore and you think kibble is toxic, which it is, and you want to do the right thing, but you just don't know how. Well, I'm going to show you. Switching your dog to raw. When I switched my dogs raw, I went cold turkey. One day they had kibble, the next day they had chicken backs. I was lucky. I didn't have any problems with diarrhea. I didn't have dogs that choked, and we'll talk about that later. I didn't have a situation where the dog wouldn't eat the food. So I had it easy. I talked to some people and folks who I've recommended this diet to, where initially their dog suffered diarrhea. And, you know, that's not uncommon. And they thought initially, oh man, I can't feed my dog raw because it had the runs. Well, the reason why your dog had the runs is his GI tract, his gastro system is sick, okay? If I ate broccoli and cauliflower and tomato juice for the next week, it would be healthy for me, but I would imagine I'd be in the bathroom a little bit longer than I usually am because my system is sick. It's not set up for that healthy diet. But over time, your pet will adjust to the appropriate diet and he'll be better off in the long run, believe me. If you do have diarrhea in the beginning, it's not gonna last. But I was lucky, I didn't have that problem. So it's your choice. My recommendation, cold turkey. If you don't want to do cold turkey, start slow. Feed a little kibble, feed a chicken back. Feed a little kibble, feed a chicken thigh, chicken wing. No, cancel wing. We'll talk about that in a minute. So it's your choice. But do switch. Okay. You need some tools if you're going to feed raw correctly. If you only have 1 or 2 dogs, I don't have that luxury, I have 5. You don't need any tools. You need a refrigerator, that's it. But many of the people who are probably watching this video, you know who you are, my German Shepherd group, they have more than 2 dogs, so you need certain things to make this work. You need a grinder, especially if you breed dogs and you have puppies. If you don't, or older dogs. So if you have a dog and it gets old, okay, my dog can't chew a chicken thigh anymore. He's 11 years old. Okay, you need a grinder. Okay, You put that chicken thigh in this grinder, turn it on. Now you got chicken thigh grounded up, okay? You need this, baggies, okay? You go to the store or wherever you go, and we'll talk about where you get your supplies in a minute. You get your supplies, bag them up, throw them in the freezer, okay? You're good to go. Ziploc bags, okay, we talked about that. Next week. I used to be a school teacher, and before we got into drank erasers, which some of you don't even know what that is, this was one of my methods of getting the lesson over to my students. So I figured, why not do it here? Okay, now you're asking yourself, okay, Ed, I want to switch to the raw diet. I want to get off the toxic kibble. You told me the tools I need, and I went out and I got some Ziploc bags, and I got a grinder, and I got my meat. I went to Restaurant Depot, which I'll talk about in a minute, and I'm ready to go. How much do I feed? Okay, that's an interesting question. Generally speaking, you want to feed 2 to 3% of your dog's ideal weight. Now, if you have a fat dog, then you're not going to feed him 2 or 3% of what he weighs now. You're going to have to cut that back. Or if you have a skinny dog, you may have to feed a little bit more than 2 or 3%, because you're feeding 2 or 3% of your dog's ideal weight. And I made a little chart right here. So to calculate the amount that you should feed your dog, let's pretend you have a dog that weighs 50 pounds and you got an active dog, and you think he needs to have 3%. Okay, so you take 50 times 3%, decimal point 0.03, and you get 1.5 pounds, 1.5 pounds. Okay, so you feed your dog 1.5 pounds. If you're feeding 2%, and I multiplied that out, I'd be feeding my dog 1 pound. 1 pound a day. Okay, you want to feed it all at once, which is what I do, fine. If you want to break it up into 2 feedings, that's fine too. But that's all a 50-pound dog would eat a day, 1.5 pounds. Okay, that's it. Okay. So what kind of foods should you feed your dog? Well, if it can run or it can fly, you can feed it to your dogs. And I have a list of several items here. Beef, any kind of beef. Now, there's an exception. You don't want to feed those big, huge femur bones. Okay, you know, that big cow leg, I'd be a little worried about that because it can break your dog's tooth. Okay, so you have to be careful with the big, heavy bones. But other than that, steak bones, rib bones, all that other stuff, no problem. Chicken, any part of the chicken. With one small exception, depending on the type of breed you have, I'd be careful with chicken wings unless you cut the wing up. By what I mean by that is that wing has that little flap that doesn't have much meat on it. Well, sometimes if a dog swallows that whole wing and that flap comes out in the throat, you could have a choking problem. So if you want to feed wings, and I do feed wings, I cut that little wing tip off and then feed it to them like that. Also, chicken necks. Depending on what kind of dog you have, chicken necks can be a problem. My dogs eat so fast, I rarely give them chicken backs because they inhale them like grapes. And I always worry about that getting stuck. But if you got a Chihuahua, hey, no problem. Give them a chicken neck without an issue. Turkey. Believe it or not, if you got a big dog, if you got a dog 50 pounds or more, and I have German Shepherds, your dog can handle any bone on that turkey. Okay, let me say that again. Your dog can handle any bone on that turkey. I love when Thanksgiving time comes because I buy turkeys in bulk and freeze them, unthaw them, cut them up, give them to the dogs. Your dog can handle a whole leg bone. Okay? He can handle the thigh bone. He can handle the breastbone, the whole thing. So don't hesitate getting turkeys. Ducks, geese, pig, lamb, goat, deer, elk, rabbit. Funny story about rabbits. When I first got into the raw food diet, I said, hey, how cool would it be to raise my own rabbits and kill them and feed them to the dogs? And I did that for about 2 months. And I won't go into the process of killing rabbits, but it got to be kind of tough on me. You're raising these little bunnies and they're cute, I admit it, and then you gotta kill them. And I'm from Oakland. I don't know anything about the farm, okay? Well, one day I was killing this little bunny, and I hit him and didn't hit him correctly. This is kind of gross. And he screamed. I don't know if you've ever heard a rabbit scream. It's a sound that I will never, ever forget. And that was the last rabbit that I killed. So I gave up raising rabbits. But hey, if that's what you can do, you can save yourself a little money. Ostrich, kind of expensive. Kangaroo. You're watching this in Australia and there's a kangaroo that you need to get rid of. Heck, feed it to your dog. Squirrel. Never done that. Rats. Never done that. Mice. Never done that. Pigeons. When I was a kid, I used to raise racing pigeons, and we'd fly them. I'd take them to my cousins in Oakland. We'd get in the car, and we'd drive back to Hayward, and the pigeons would beat us home. But there are king pigeons that they raise for food, and I kind of started to think about raising my own pigeons, but my wife sort of talked me out of that. But anyway, I drew a line through fish. I don't know if you can see that. Can your dog have fish? Yeah. Here's the problem with fish. Some types of fish, usually the salmon family, they have these little lukes or parasites that if consumed by your dog, that parasite can get in the spleen and cause all kind of problems. It actually happened to a friend of mine who happens to be one of my teammates on my barbecue team, and he almost lost his dog. They removed the spleen. And obviously I didn't know that about salmon, but salmon, trout, some other types of lake fish are a problem. So what I do, I don't feed fish, okay? If you want to, fine, but at least you now know that certain types of fish in the salmon family contain that parasite or that luke, so you gotta be careful with it. I wouldn't bother. When I was doing my information for this video, I came across something that didn't make any sense. Notice I said you can feed your dog deer, elk, squirrel, things that you don't find in the store. So that means you know a hunter, and the hunter's got to kill this animal, give it to you, and you feed it. It said, my information said that you need to freeze it for 24 hours to make sure that there are any kind of little bugs, you take care of it. Well, I thought that was kind of a contradiction, because your dog is a wolf. We already talked about that. The wolves in the wild, when they kill an elk or a deer or a squirrel or whatever, they don't have freezers. They don't say, okay guys, we got to freeze this for a day, make sure we don't catch anything. So I thought that was kind of weird. Your dog's GI tract is very powerful. It can handle most types of bacteria and parasites that we can't. But anyway, that's what it said, so that's what I'm telling you. Okay. Other things to be careful of. I talked about, no I didn't. Let me talk about ground beef. Okay? I don't feed my dogs ground beef unless I grind it personally myself. I'm not saying you can't feed ground beef, but ground beef has a lot of surface areas. It laid around the butcher's table. You don't know what's going on. Bacteria can grow. It has lots of nooks and crannies. Every now and then, Jack in the Box has a recall on their hamburger meat. There's some kind of bug or pest or whatever. So I just say, hey, if I don't grind it, and this grinds things very well, I don't use it. So be careful with ground meats. Chicken necks, I talked about that a second ago. You could have an issue with the dog swallowing it too quick, depending on what size dog you are. My German Shepherds, chicken neck's not going to get stuck in their throat, but it bugs me sometimes because, they, like I said, they eat them like potato chips, and I'd rather them chew. Not chew, dogs don't chew. I'd rather them chomp, and they tend not to do that with necks. I told you about clip that little hook on the chicken wing. Organ meat. One of the keys to this raw diet, and I didn't mention this earlier, so I'll mention it now. The raw diet consists of bones, muscle meat, innards, or organs. Let me say that again. Bones, muscle meat, innards, organs. Okay. The problem with organ meat, you know, liver, tripe, well, not necessarily tripe, spleen, kidney. It's rich in vitamins and minerals. That's why you don't supplement. Excuse me. You don't supplement. If you feed your dog a correct raw diet, you don't supplement. My dogs do not get supplements. You're good. But like I said, too much liver, too much kidney, too much organ meat, too much innards, even too much ground beef. Ground tripe. I've had my dogs get the runs on occasion, so be careful with that. But you don't need supplements. Okay? Get that out of your mind. And balance, I talked about balance in my first video. If you're feeding your dog correctly, like I'm showing you now, your dog will have a balanced diet. He doesn't have to have all three of those things every meal. Doesn't have to have bone, muscle meat, and organs in every meal. Okay? Most of my dogs, all of my generally only get muscle meat. No, let me back up. Generally, my dogs only get organs, innards, once a week, maybe twice a week. Okay? And they're fine. Where do I get raw food? Is it expensive? Yes, no, and maybe so. That depends on how you do it. I buy in bulk, and there's an organization, actually it's a commercial store that's not open to the public. It's called Restaurant Depot, and if you Google it, and if you're lucky, there's one in your area. I buy, you think of it, they have it. I buy chicken backs raw in 40-pound cases. I pay about $16 for that. Let me repeat that. I buy 40 pounds of non-frozen fresh chicken backs for $16. Okay, what does 40 pounds of toxic kibble cost? It probably costs more than $16. I also buy leg thigh quarters in 40-pound boxes from Restaurant Depot, and I pay about $17 to $18 for that, and it's fresh. And what I do when I get it, I do this. I put them in Ziploc bags and I freeze it. And day before I feed it, take 2 out, feed it to the dogs, you're good. Okay, but there's one catch to Restaurant Depot. It's not open to the public. You have to have a restaurant or a non-profit association to get a membership. And I don't have either one of those things. So how do I get in? Very simple. If you join the Kansas City Barbecue Society, kcbs.com, let me say that again, kcbs.com, and you join, it costs $35 a year. Now, if you don't live near a Restaurant Depot, don't bother. And for this $35 a year, you get the Bullsheet magazine. I said bullsheet, not that other word. You get that once a month, and you also, in that magazine is a coupon, and they have it every month. So just cut the coupon once, or maybe it's online, I don't remember it. Let me see if I got it in here. I'll show it to you. We got time. You got nothing else to do. You prove that by watching me. Oh, hold on. It helped. I don't have a script, guys. You get this little card, It says Kansas City Barbecue Society. Got your name on it, got your number, and you go online and you print this little coupon. It says KCBS member, Restaurant Depot. You take this, you get into Restaurant Depot. And the reason why I'm spending a lot of time on this is because they have everything. If you have one near you, and I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, we have 3. It's great. My brother goes there, he feeds his dog raw. My son goes there, he feeds his dog raw. And you just can't beat it. Okay, so you don't have a Restaurant Depot near you, or you don't want to join KCBS. There's got to be a meat vendor near you. There's got to be a butcher shop near you. Maybe your local market will order you cases of backs or chicken legs, chicken quarters. There are all kind of places. Costco. Costco, you really can't buy in bulk. I've never seen boxes of 40 pounds of anything, but who knows? Maybe you can call the butcher, talk to them, and maybe they'll order you things in bulk. So if you order it in bulk, it is less expensive than regular dog food. You can look online. There are lots of raw food groups online, and they can tell you in your area where you can buy your food. The one around here, which I don't go to because they're a little expensive, San Francisco Raw, they have a co-op where they've got all kinds of stuff. They've got everything on my list. The other page, they've had buffalo there, you name it, they have it. It's a little expensive, but if you only have a couple of dogs, it might be worth it for you to go there. So check online, you can get lots of resources that way. Well, raise your own. I told you what happened to me when I was raising rabbits, but that's one way of feeding your dog raw. Raise your own chickens. You can do that too. But like I said, you want to find food, you'll find it. Okay, it's out there. You just gotta look. Before I go into problems with the raw diet, let me tell you what I feed my dogs on a regular basis. My dogs basically eat backs, chicken legs, chicken thighs, 5-6 days a week. Okay, the same thing. On the weekends or once a week, this is the Cadillac of all dog food. This is the Holy Grail. This is, to me, the best food in the world to feed your dog. It's green tripe. What green tripe is, it's the innards of it's the stomach. Okay, all ground up. And this back kind of split. I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually, it looks green. And it stinks. I fed it so long, I'm used to the smell. This is good stuff. If you want to buy this, obviously the business is near me in Hollister, California. It's run by a wonderful lady by the name of Mary Voss, V-O-S-S, and her website is greentripe.com. greentripe.com. She ships all over the United States. She ships to Canada. She ships to Mexico. I even think she said she had an order, she shipped it to China, which is interesting. But also Mary supplies a lot of the food co-ops, the raw group co-ops, one in Fremont, California, and one in San Francisco I talked about earlier. But like I say, Mary will send this to you. It's expensive to ship it, and it's expensive to buy. I pay about, I buy in bulk. Mary charges me, I think, $1.85 a pound for this stuff. It's great stuff. There's also a supplier I use. I also feed BLT, which is beef muscle meat, beef liver, it's good, and beef tripe. So that's BLT. I shouldn't have touched it. That's all right, I'm at home. I can do this. This is good stuff. I pay about $2 a pound for that, so they don't get that very often. And the guy in Oregon comes down to California. He comes down to Northern California once every couple of months, and I order stuff from him. But like I say, basically, my dogs only eat green tripe or the beef liver tripe mix once or twice a week. I mentioned earlier about Kansas City Barbecue Society. I'm a pit master, and I enter barbecue contests. We don't do very well, but it's a lot of fun. When I barbecue ribs, I cut off the rib tips. My teammates really get upset at me, and my dogs love these. I cut them off, freeze them up, give them to the dogs. As a matter of fact, that's what they're having tonight. Once again, I'm not prepared, and I don't have something to wipe my dirty hands with. That's okay, you'll live. I do this, don't tell anybody. So that's what I do. I don't supplement, I don't feed carbs. Your dogs don't need carbohydrates. Let me say it again. Your dogs do not need carbohydrates. You want to feed carbohydrates, that's fine. You want to feed veggies, that's fine. Obviously, you've got to grind it up because your dog system cannot process vegetables unless you beat them up and grind them up. And why would you feed your dog something that you can't process well? But that's up to you. You can feed it if you want. Okay, are there problems with raw food? Yeah. This is not a perfect food. It's the best thing that we have, in my opinion, but it's by no means perfect. Can things go wrong with this? Yeah, things can go wrong with this. And they might. It's still better than any kibble you can do. So let's talk about some of the possible problems. Choking. Yeah, your dog can choke on raw food. In the beginning, if you do switch over, I would suggest you make sure you watch your dog from start to finish. I don't do that. I feed, I'm out of there, okay? They're veterans, they know what to do. Your dog can choke. It's probably not gonna happen, but your dogs can choke on raw food. And usually the reason why they choke is because you gave them something that was too small, okay? If you gave them a turkey leg, they're not gonna choke on that because they're gonna sit there and go, they're gonna grind that down. So generally, there's more of a chance of you causing your dog to choke if you feed something too small. And we talked about that little hook on the wing, and we talked about the chicken necks. Give your dog a big piece, he can handle it, okay? Constipation, yeah. That happens to me every now and then. If I'm feeding too many days of backs, I ran out of green tripe, I don't feel like going to Hollister, and they're getting chicken backs too often, you can get constipation. You can get real dry chalky stools, which is not a bad thing, but you don't want your dog constipated. That generally doesn't happen to me, but it can happen. So constipation is a problem. And the reverse of that, diarrhea. We talked about diarrhea and what can cause that. Too much green tripe, and my dogs very seldom have too much green tripe because it costs too much money. In the beginning stages of feeding your dog raw, you might end up with diarrhea, running stools. It'll go away. Remember, your dog is adjusting. He's had that toxic poison GI tract for as long as you've been feeding kibble, and you're trying to correct that. So, you might have a period of time where your dog system has to heal. So you might want to go slowly. I don't recommend it. Okay, that's it. Like I said earlier, your dog can survive on kibble. It's been around for what, 50, 60 years. But in the long run, you're playing Russian roulette. It's gonna catch up with you. I have people say, oh man, my dog's been on kibble its whole life, and it's got energy, it's got a shiny coat. They don't mention the crappy stools and the stinky breath, and he's just fine. Yeah, what you see on the outside is not necessarily a reflection of what's going on in your dog's system. Your dog is a carnivore. Your dog was meant by nature to eat meat, raw meat, not kibble. So thank you for watching, and hopefully your dog will be a lot healthier, and you'll be happy if you make the switch. Trust me, I'm lazy. If this wasn't correct, I would do something else, because it is a little bit more difficult, especially in the beginning, but it's certainly not more expensive.